It's interesting because we were talking about before we started recording, money, and how, man, if I had some money right now just to pay off some debts, pay off a credit card, try to get more solvent, or better yet, you and I were talking about yesterday how it would be fantastic to have money just to help other people, if I had, if somebody handed me
let's play this again.
A particular amount of cash, we won't say how much, but it's a lot more than you might think.
Millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, that's way too much.
There's a clip. Super bad Trump impression.
No. Cool. Oh, that was a clip. I understand now. That was a YouTube short.
Yeah.
I have to.
We're all just kind of clicking off a little bit.
It's okay.
It's okay. We'll get there. We'll get
coffee.
Keep drinking.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Extra Mile. I'm Justin. That's G5. What's up, George?
Hello.
And Caleb's over there in his dark corner.
Hey.
But we fixed that in post. So now he's on the surface of the sun.
I'm just going to make myself completely blacked out for this episode.
Either that or put a halo behind you Caleb's corner. Anyway, this cup of coffee is with you. Enjoy. I hope you're having a great day. Anyway, so the thing about being in debt, living in America, it's kind of some of the woes, at least of my generation, our generation perhaps, is not necessarily great financial position, not necessarily great economy that we're living in. So a lot of people are struggling. I know we personally are. It almost seems like, man, we worked so hard and prosperity seems to just be beyond fleeting, we're really close, and then they move the goalpost on you and it gets harder. But sorry to start really somber this morning. We were trying to wake everybody up. More coffee. Maybe I can pull more money out of the stone.
Yeah.
But I was inspired because this poem came on a YouTube short as I was scrolling one morning. And in a somber note, it's kind of puts it into perspective. And so we didn't prepare this, but the conversation can go this way. It's this poem I'll read, and I know some of you are rolling your eyes or maybe turning us off now, but it's worth a listen. And it's by Walden Parker. It's called 100 Years From Now. And it goes like this. Good morning, all. Hope everyone is doing well. Oh, let me actually get to the... here we go. Here's the poetry. It says, it will not make much difference, friend, 100 years from now, if you live in a stately mansion or a river scow. Or on a river scow. If the clothes you wear are tailor-made or pieced together somehow, if you eat big steaks or beans and cake, 100 years from now. It won't matter your bank account or the make of car you drive, for the grave will claim all riches and fame and the things for which you strive. It's a deadline that we all must meet, and no one will be late. It won't matter then all the places you've been. Each one will keep that date. We will only have in eternity what we gave away on earth. When we go to the grave, we can only save the things of eternal worth. What matters, friend, the earthly gain for which some men always bow? For your destiny will be sealed, you see, 100 years from now. I thought about that. I needed to hear that, honestly, because when you start talking about finances and positions, and it puts it into context in many ways. A lot of what we talk about in faith and relying on the Lord, trusting on the Lord, and what does that mean and what does that look like? And I think it's easy to get distracted by an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or someone in a super yacht, or even, quite simply, someone who might have enough money to go buy food. If we put it into real context, and the reliance that Jesus teaches us is merely that we have our daily bread. That's the prayer that he gives, Matthew 6, Luke 11. It puts it into context, for me at least, that But the Lord has me. Jesus has us.
When you were reading that poem, what you just said goes along with 1 Timothy 6, verse 6 says, "Now godliness combined with contentment brings great profit, for we have brought nothing into the world, and so we cannot take a single thing out either." Right? So that goes with the 100-year thing that you're talking about. But if we have food and shelter, we will, it says, we will be satisfied with that.
Isn't there is it a proverb or a psalm that says, "Teach me to number my days"?
Yeah, I think so.
It's about the context of, okay, well,
Teach me to number my days. Is that the Moses song?
maybe
Psalm 90?
if it doesn't if we can't take anything out, which obviously we can't, right?
Oh, crushed it. It is Psalm 90.
Nice. What does Psalm 90 say?
That's super good.
It's the best psalm ever.
I don't know if it's... It is a good psalm.
It's a fantastic psalm.
It's the best.
A prayer of Moses. Oh, man.
Yes.
Lord, you have been our dwelling place in all generations before the mountains were born, or you gave birth to the earth and the world. Even from everlasting to everlasting, you are God. You turn man back into dust and say, "Return, O children of men." For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it passes by, or as a watch in the night. You've swept them away like a flood, they fall asleep. In the morning they are like grass which sprouts anew. In the morning it flourishes and sprouts anew. Toward evening it fades and withers away. For we have been consumed by your anger and your wrath, we have been dismayed, and by your wrath. You've placed our iniquities before you, our secret sins in the light of your presence. For all our days have declined in your fury. We have finished our years like a sigh. As for the days of our life, they contain 70 years, or if due to strength, 80 years. Yet their pride is but labor and sorrow. For soon it is gone, and we fly away. Who understands the power of your anger and your fury according to the fear that is due you? So teach us to number our days, that we may present to you a heart of wisdom.
Yeah.
Oh, do return, O Lord. How long will it be? And be sorry for your servants. He goes.
He goes for a while.
He goes on into the Song of Moses. It's an interesting, if you think about millennia ago, and this is on the hearts of men,
Yeah.
we always view that appointment. We have an appointment with our destiny.
Mm-hmm.
We must pass through death. In the poem, it says that the things that matter are eternal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what are eternal? Well, Micah 6, I love that passage because it talks about hope, but then it talks about the deception of wealth.
Yes.
Because, like, what does God want you to do? Treat your fellow man who's made in God's image like garbage and lie to them and have deceptive scales and, like, is that the point? Or is the point to help other people and love other people? I mean, and that's the thing is if you are caught up in the deception of material possessions, if that's what matters to you, what matters to you is to be seen by your fellow man, not only are you going to have, you'll have it and you'll get your reward. Yeah. And then when you die, it's going to be given to the next guy who didn't work for it.
I think we make a mistake when and I mentioned this yesterday in our conversation, when we rely on money in order to help people. Like, if we have money, we can obviously use money, and we should. Mm-hmm. But if we don't have any money, to think that we can't help others is ridiculous. And sometimes we'll say, well, if I had money, then I would like to do A, B, C, and D. And we talked about that. I'd like to just write a check and give it to this person. But there's almost this, I don't know, almost like, I think we might do that. And if we do that, maybe God doesn't want you to do that. Maybe our generosity actually might hurt somebody in the long run, in a weird way. Like, if we had millions of dollars and we just help someone, I don't know. I don't know why it works out the way that we do. And it was just an interesting thought I had. Yeah, I don't know.
I know it is, and I think that there's obviously wisdom with our situation.
Yeah.
And the teaching of Jesus is that he's talking about the kingdom of it. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle
Yeah, it's interesting you mention the Sermon on the Mount
than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
I was talking with Paige about this. You're right. I was talking with Paige about this passage as well, and she was preparing for the ladies' Bible study. But further on, I can't remember if it's chapter 6 or 7. I think it's maybe it's chapter 5. But if you remember the lilies of the field too, and it talks about Solomon, like neither are
his
these.
arraignment
Yeah,
was not adorned like these.
Yeah, exactly. And he had all the wealth and power, and not even he was clothed like the lilies of the field. And Paige and I got to thinking about this, and she made the interesting point that, wow, there is something about relying on God. Those flowers are simply relying on the purpose that God set out for him.
I think the flowers in my flower beds, they are not obedient to Lord.
They are withered.
They have not bloomed. I am frustrated with them.
No matter how much water you give them.
Perhaps too much water. That's probably my problem. It's like, you're thirsty.
See, there you
We just
go.
drowned some
Sometimes
of
our
ours.
generosity just hurts others.
We just drowned some of ours accidentally.
Rough.
Yeah.
See, I think that's might have been what I've done.
Uh,
But Charlotte got a little cup of grass. Like they planted seeds in little cups in the soil at daycare. She brought it home. That grass has gone bananas. It's like Jumanji in that thing. Anyway, that's an old callback. That shows my age. Robin Williams.
I got you.
Wow. Okay, we'll edit that out. But Solomon, yes. The point that I was thinking about that is reliance on God, and that one of the other teachings that Jesus gave to the rich man who was interested in becoming a follower of Jesus, and God being able to discern people's hearts, he says, you lack one thing. Like your desire is true. You lack one thing, which is give up all of your wealth. And he says, but who does he say to give it to? Give it to Amazon? To go, throw it in
Oh, yeah, it says give
gold?
the poor.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's the point. So he says give it to the poor.
Oh, which is a good thing. Yeah.
But then if you keep going, Judas's rebuke of Jesus and the woman who breaks the I guess it was
The nard.
Yeah, it was perfume, and they covered Jesus' feet with perfume. Judas's rebuke of that moment, which was then rebuked by Jesus, he says, this could have been sold and could have been given to the poor, and it's very, very, very expensive perfume. And didn't you say, someone told me it's coming to memory that the value of that perfume was a year's wage?
Oh, it's tons of money, yeah.
And so... think it was a $100,000 bottle of perfume. That just sort of like, well, you wasted that. And Jesus said, leave her alone. Like she's doing it to prepare my body for burial.
Right. And then he says, you'll always have the poor.
You will always have the poor. And so that goes back to my sociology 101 class when we were talking about, well, what if we just got rid of the poor? It's like, well, there's always going to be the poor. Well, okay, so what does that mean? And then there's all kinds of knowledge and wisdom in the scripture about being not poor in bank account, but poor in spirit. And that's the teaching of the New Testament, is that we're talking about being poor in spirit. So you go back to the rich man who had all the money in the world, had very little cares that perhaps you and I were sharing in our woes yesterday, but poor in spirit and is lacking in all of the things that truly matter for eternal life. Because that guy isn't alive anymore. And what did his wealth mean? What did all the gold that what the Scrooge McDuck vault that you swim around in, what does it all matter if you're too old to spend it or you're dead? It goes to people who didn't work for it, didn't deserve it, probably will squander it, and then your empire that you built will be forgotten, sold off in pieces. I think about the 4-6 Ranch. It's really close to here.
Yeah, I've driven by it a couple times.
It's like 100 miles east of here.
Yeah.
In Dickens, right outside of Guthrie. And apparently somebody from Hollywood, it was for sale. It's like one of the largest ranches in the world. It's not but it's one of the largest ranches. And they put it up for sale about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was 4 or 5 years ago. They put the 4-6 Ranch up for sale. And it's like, well, who has a cool $750 million just sitting in the bank account somewhere? Somebody from Hollywood bought it.
Yeah, they're making a bunch of movies and stuff on it.
So they're going to make movies out there. Yeah.
It was the Yellowstone creator.
Yeah,
was it really?
yeah.
192 million.
Whew. There you go. So, I mean, if you think about it, go back to 1905 when they took it from the Indians, And so, okay, well, here's our land, and we put up our fences, and there's our ranch. And then what did that poem say? 100 years from now, it's going to be gone, So if you think about it, the land that was worked for, toiled over, and, had cowpokes and all that, pushing all that wealth. And then, like, at least for the nonprofit stuff, they set up foundations. They try to help the arts. They try to help the poor in that way.
Well, blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
There's a beatitude.
Yeah, theirs at the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's the mindset that we were talking about, is like the reason why wealth hasn't come our way, or even just debt solvency, is because mentally and spiritually, that's the place where we'll be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And so blessed are they, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, is that their hope lies in the eternal life.
Yeah, I always feel self-conscious talking about this type of stuff because there are richer people out there that are Christians and better and stronger than me spiritually that could be talking about this. Well, I feel very unqualified.
I would love
and
it
inexperienced.
if they would fly here and we would learn at their feet. I can only, I'm not condemning anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not judging anybody. I'm not trying to make anybody feel.
No, we're just making observations.
Well, I'm not trying to make anybody feel anything other than perspective, I suppose, because the perspective that I have is, man, I wish that I didn't have to be in the debt that I'm in, or I wish that my student loans are paid for. I wish that when I was younger, that when I signed on the dotted line for my student loans, that I had the last 20 years of perspective of, maybe I should have actually considered a different field that would have paid for my degree a little faster or whatever. But then, wishing like that is, if it becomes more than a mental exercise, then it actually could corrupt you because...
Right, you could be evil Biff.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows... Who
full
knows
circle.
Of the what-if versions. That is full circle. See, this is good. No editing, folks. This was live. But I thought that was interesting because, my wife and I were talking about our finances and making plans, hopefully, and trying to see projections. And then that came up, and I thought, that's an interesting topic to discuss about, like, man, I just wish... Well, do I actually wish for physical wealth that's going to go away? Or do I wish that I had perhaps a better impact in the kingdom?
Right. I think we're just searching for encouragement. Like we can help anyone no matter where we're at or how much money we have, as long as we are seeking first the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, and I think that, at least in my personal experience, recently with career change and things like that, opportunities are going to be there Even though you might not sense them or feel them or detect them, it seems that there's always a way forward. Well, it's not that it seems. There always is a way forward. That's what I've experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put your hope in the things eternal, in a relationship with Christ, it's not an idea to dismiss if you are dismissing it. There is such credence because God's got us.
Right. Right.
And he's got you.
Well, I think it's a good place to end.
There you go.
He's got you. Go so. If you want to know more about the Bible or you have any questions, our email is in the description below. You can DM us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're looking for a church family or you're in the Lubbock area, we invite you to come visit and hang out with us in Milwaukee. We love for you to find a church who practices the love of Christ.